All right, we do apologize for starting the show later than the scheduled time. We sincerely apologize. Well, good morning to you, Lagos, and this is the first day in the month of April, so we say Happy New Month. We also do say Happy Easter. It's a Monday, so yes, Happy Easter. I am Moses Humphrey.
From Fina Okechukwu, Happy New Week, Happy New Month. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful morning, and David Edwin saying a very good morning to you wherever you're seeing us this morning from. And we definitely are here to serve you very, very better. Again, we apologize for starting late. So let's dive into it almost immediately.
All right then. Well, the Happy New Month thing, it's something I've come to accept. It's usually not something I would say, but
Right.
I understand that it's become a thing in Nigeria. Fina has added Happy New Week. We like to say, we like to add happy to
Happy,
things,
yeah.
even when we're not exactly happy.
We
But
have to
anyway,
try.
there's something on our table today. One of the topics we'll be looking at today has to do with a request from Serap, opening the eyes of Nigerians to this one again, like we usually would do. Serap has issued an ultimatum to the 36 state governors and the minister of the FCT, Wike, giving them 7 days to disclose loan agreements and account for 5.9 trillion naira and $4.6 billion loan. And that's coming on the heels of Governor Sani's revelation of Kaduna State's financial situation. Oh well, this and more, what we'll be talking about on the show today. All right, let's get into it. All right. So now, this is the story. All right, going straight up. Now, Serap. Serap has, in case you don't know what happened in Kaduna State, the governor came out to say, look, he inherited a humongous debt, and that in itself has prevented him. I think it goes into to the tune of 587 million naira, and then 85 million dollars. It's I don't have the exact. Pardon? 87 billion naira, and then 85 million dollars in debt that he inherited, and that is going to make it difficult for him to pay workers' salaries. All right, so with us in the studio we have Mr. Akin Fatunke. We must thank you for your patience and understanding, and thank you for staying with us on the program today.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Fina. Thank you, David. And good morning, Nigerians. Beware.
Beware.
Today is April Fool's Day.
Oh.
Nobody's going to fool us. It's a pleasure to be here. I guess.
All right.
Thank you.
I was actually going to play a prank on our listeners, but you putting that out there just made it difficult.
So, listeners, please clap for me.
You exposed it. Okay. We also do have joining us virtually. We'll let you know when this individual joins us. He's Mukhtar Mohammed. He's a financial analyst. We'll let you know when he joins virtually. Now let's stay with Mr. Fatunke. Now, with the revelation, and once again, Serap is out there to let Nigerians know that look, this is what is going on. A lot of monies, a lot of debts here and there. We know these things. We've talked about these things quite a lot. But as much as they keep coming up, we will keep lending our voices to these things so as to let government know and put them on their toes, all right, that Nigerians are watching them, which is, of course, what Serap is doing. I'm going to focus on the events in Kaduna State. First question that came to my mind is, if Governor Sani is engrossed in this level of debt, we know that on the side he's also building a banquet that is gulping 7 billion naira, but then he's complaining that look, from the debt he's having to deal with, he may not be able to pay the salaries of workers. How then do you think this the minimum wage increment would go? First off, because this is not the only state that is dealing with debt. A lot of other states are dealing with debts that they inherited from those that they succeeded. What is the situation really?
I think from the coloration of what we are seeing and more of the perception of what is coming to light, we are having a big problem in our federation. The subnational government virtually holds the whole lot of us by the jugular, by their action, by their inaction, by financial indiscipline, and by usually the stench that is coming out that we begin to see on a regular basis. So we are swinging, in a manner of speaking, from River State down to Kaduna State with all the drama. What do I feel? I feel the chicken is coming up to roost. We can't continue to patch the unpatchables. The falcon appears not to be listening and hearing the falconer, and things continue to fall apart. And again, Moses, please pardon me, and this is not an April Fool's prank here. The present governor of Kaduna State, Senator Oseni, representing Kaduna Central, around and about now, sometime in March 2020, he came out boldly and gave a pass mark to his immediate predecessor in office, Nasir El-Rufai, to say that the IMF, Transparency International, have given a nod to Kaduna State for the loan that was being amassed at that time. He further went on to tell the whole world, as it's in print, that if that loan should fail, Kaduna State and Nigerians should hold him to account. And now we see Act 2 of that same Scene 1, he now coming up to say that he cannot pay salaries and it's over borrowed. So what has happened to Fiscal Responsibility Act? I think this drama is still unfolding.
Okay.
I want a situation where the budget office will come in, because absolutely you cannot, again, I repeat, you cannot just go on a spree without the central bank and the office of the finance minister and of course, the finance minister houses the debt management office. You've got to be able to look at your situation before you can just go ahead and begin to amass and amass debt that you will not be able to pay.
Okay.
The ratio will be such that what is your debt burden, what is your current expenditure, okay, if you like, what is your infrastructural budget, so to speak. And so if you are coming on, before you can get a tick, it tells you that what has happened in the immediate past administration was anything but governance.
Okay.
Finally. I like to also say that I started by saying we got a swing action and inaction, melodrama from River State to Kaduna State. Don't forget, not too long ago, the Karuga kidnap, and I think Mr. President made a snide remark on that. You said 280 something people were captured, and suddenly we found it to be 137.
137.
What is really going on? And we kept on saying, is it the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob, or is it trying to game the system? And from what is coming out, I'm sorry, Moses, may be a slight deviation from what is coming out of all this fiasco that is coming out of Kaduna. A man who was senator for Kaduna Central saying he should be held responsible if that loan should
Who
fail.
actually was one of those that canvassed for the loans in the first place.
Yeah.
So, what is happening here? It begets belief.
Is there fire on the mountain in Kaduna State?
As a matter of fact, there is thunder on the mountain.
Is there the possibility also that there is some feud between the present governor and his predecessor?
You see, and it's the reason why I said the Falcon not hearing the voice of the falconer and center not being able to hold. Reality is that when you get to the cockpit, that is not when you try to begin to do paddy. I see a situation where the lies and the propaganda, in quotes, allegedly, okay, in quotes, that we have been fed with all this time, chicken coming home to roost. One, unfortunately, the gale of insecurity that is befalling you, the economy itself that is not smiling at anybody, including the Kaduna State government, despite the fact that you are getting increased allocation. I think that overwhelming tells you, like in Fred Agbeyepe's play, you have to come out of your closet and say it exactly as it is. The king must dance naked. You notice Uba said, despite it, we will try and strive. Like Atlas, you can't carry the whole world.
Okay.
You get to collapse in the process. So this is exactly what I think has happened.
Please let me interrupt you here because we need to put some things out there. Now, the further allocation that goes to Kaduna State, in previous months, this month ended March, was about 10 billion naira. And the governor is saying out of that, 7 billion was taken away to finance, to pay for debts.
For loan service and repayment, yeah.
Accrued debts and all of that, leaving them with 3 billion. And what is paid to what the salaries paid goes to about 5 point something billion. So basically, what we have there is if they go ahead to pay, some would get paid, others would not get paid. If you have 3 billion. And regardless of that, since states are dependent on the federal allocation, how does that put Kaduna State, seeing that because of the loans, now Kaduna State is the one in focus now. We know that some other states in Nigeria are going through the same thing.
Right.
But let's use Kaduna now as a point, to look at other states as well. If what you have at the end of the day is not even enough to pay your workers, how then should we expect developmental projects? Let's also bear in mind that the governor did state that he also inherited 115 contractual liabilities.
Moses, if you are running a company, as I have my private sector background, the verdict is out and the jury is out. You are not viable. You are in comatose. You pack shop and leave the stage. I am making the point to you and to Nigerians that Nigeria is not working. And you did say that the vast majority of the states, maybe about one or two, in exception, can be seen to be able to stand on their own and run. Majority cannot run without the allocations. I'm just you just painted it clearly. Don't also forget, and Nigerians must not lose sight of the fact that El Rufai, during his tenure of office, tried to align, streamline, so to speak, public service, the educational sector that was in excess of requirement. So we got the impression that at least it was kind of slimmed down. If that has happened, and yet we are where we are at, then Serap has a point. We have an Attorney General for that state and all other states. We have Accountant General for that state and all other states. We have Auditor General for all other states, and including Kaduna. Where is everybody looking at, and what has this been spent on? Again, Moses, I made my comment with a caveat that alleged. Can we see how this fund has been spent and in what infrastructure? And what is the payback if this were infrastructure? Is it human development? What is the game changer in terms of when you now be able to now then say you can continue to to exist? Then David, I'm sorry I had to call it that way. You are not viable, you are bankrupt, you are drawing humongous, and then you are also the epicenter of insecurity. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. And therefore, we have 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. We decided we are going to create all those states and replicate governance that is very, very expensive in that state and so many others. It's now high time for us to come back to that same hill that I said is having thunderous storms, and take a decision.
All right.
It is not viable. It is not going to continue to be viable for the immediate future.
Okay.
And the earlier we curtail and tell ourselves those truths, the better for all of us.
All right. Let's get the perspective of a financial expert on how viable things might be. We have joining us virtually. You're joining us virtually. We have Mukhtar Mohammed, who is a financial analyst. Good morning to you, Mukhtar. Well, I want to believe that you're monitoring the situation in Kaduna State, and with the debt burden looking pretty scary, and Serap, lending their voice to say, look, according to the Freedom of Information Act, let Nigerians know what is going on. Not just you, talking about other states as well, and the FCT. Let Nigerians know the debt you inherited and what you're dealing with. Now, but with a focus on Kaduna now, what are your thoughts when it comes to putting up developmental projects, payment of workers, well, civil servants, and businesses in that state, if we now look at how much the governor is saying comes to the government at the end of the day? Mukhtar Mohammed, go ahead.
First and foremost, I happen to grow up in Kaduna State, so I know Kaduna State very well.
Interesting.
So it's a good state. It's a state that I always visit up to now for over 30 years of my life. So if you look at that, now I'm not I can tell you for sure that there's been a lot of development in Kaduna in terms of infrastructure, in terms of road network, especially in terms of education and infrastructure. It will give it to Nasir El-Rufai when he was governor. And most of these projects were done in partnership with PPP. So it was like a shock when the current governor said Kaduna State is involved in a lot of debt. A lot of debt, most of the federal payment goes to debt. Kaduna State was one of those states in the north that had the highest internet generated revenue during the time of El-Rufai. So what has really happened to all those revenue drive since the new governor came into power? So insecurity is high in Kaduna State. Some part of Kaduna State have not been able to contribute their quota to the development of Kaduna State. We talk about bringing where used to be the transportation hub of Kaduna State. You go down Chukun local government going to Zaria. Also, those who used to be one of those hubs that a lot of businesses happen, insecurity have taken over. And when you go to the southern Kaduna State, also they have their own challenges. So, not only for El-Rufai, but the governor needs to come out there and tell us what this debt are, how much is this debt, and how much has he been able to pay, and how much is he himself borrowing, and how much has he himself earned. Now, when it comes to public debt, you know that the last administration of President Buhari, maybe not including Nasir El-Rufai, are guilty of collecting debts. They just feel that that's the easiest way to go out of all their challenges. We need to have details of what these debts are. You see, in the states, most states in the north, that become a thing of pride for governors to pride themselves to have paid salary. And that's what they pride themselves, what they collect federal allocation, they just pay salary. And I think El-Rufai said, no, I didn't want to do that. I want to be able to do the motor project, and there's no money for some of these projects. And so he had to do the PPP with the private sector. There was one governor that really threw the private sector into Kaduna State. So the governor needs to come up clear and tell us.
Okay, now for the governor, the previous governor, El-Rufai, has not come out to say that, look, he's not owing, I mean, he didn't leave this much debt, all right? In fact, what his son, Bashir El-Rufai, has said points to the fact that, yes, these monies were left behind by his father. I mean, these debts were left behind by his father, but the current governor could do more, as against just complaining. He could do more. That's what Bashir El-Rufai is saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not defending that there is no debt. I'm just saying he should tell us what the debt is. He should tell us, is it the private sector driven debt, or because it was a PPP project between Nasir El-Rufai and most of all this debt that we are talking about. Okay. He had not come up clear, not issued a statement, but as far as I know, at the time he was governor, most of the projects that were done there were PPP, public-private partnership.
Okay,
so,
what are the dangers, or what should we be worried about if these projects were PPP enabled, and then we have 115 of them, lying waste?
Corruption. That shows maybe the government was not really telling us the truth, or maybe the PPP did not really take place because they didn't have the funding to start this project. Because that's the challenge we have in Nigeria. Sometimes when you hear this PPP project, some of these private companies are just looking at it as an avenue to get tax rebates, and that has been a challenge. And I say it without mining what most of the PPP projects are just showing getting tax rebate to run their businesses, rather than really making this project come to stream. Because in a PPP project, there are deliverables, and sometimes these deliverables are not met by this government or the state, and sometimes the state also do not have to, do not even start bringing their own quota. So that's why I say a thorough investigation needs to be carried out to be sure what really these debts are all about.
All right, Mr. Mukhtar, now we're talking about the debts that governors in Nigeria actually are incurring for their state. And according to the DMO, that's the Debt Management Office, they make mention that 13 new governors borrowed 226.8 billion naira in 6 months. And among those people that borrowed this money, we have, among the states, we have Benue, Cross River, Katsina, Niger, Plateau, Rivers, Zamfara, and even the Federal Capital Territory. And Kaduna also was part of the people, Ebonyi, and we have Sokoto and Zamfara State. And where does this borrowing from the federal government, from the state governments now, leave the people that they are governing? Because you found out that it is being transferred. After this governor must have finished his tenure and the office to leave, another person will come to inherit it.
Look, I have no problem with debt. I keep saying it. Debt is there's no good debt, there's no bad debt, but there is debt and it must be paid. But again, there are debt that are made for effective development of the state. When you tie debt to specific projects that are going to bring in turnaround snowball effect, like creating jobs for the populace, giving employment to the youth, building infrastructure, those are good debt. But sometimes most of these debt are just debt that are meant to satisfy salary payment, political appointees, especially trying to godfatherism. So that's my own challenge with some of these debts that have been incurred by some of the state government. So when you look at those states that you just call it, exception from maybe Rivers State, all other states are struggling. Even the Rivers State, they also have a pile of debt that was collected by the previous administrator that once a week. And now again, even he's now the FCT minister. You can see FCT is among those that have also gone thus far. And so you can see that some governments are just interested in just getting debt and just to tie projects to their name. Don't look at the future of the state or some of those projects. So for me, that's the biggest challenge we have as a country, because most of these governments are just interested only in putting their name that, oh, I did this project, even if this project at the end of the day is going to drain the state a lot of resources. But like I said, to grow to grow your businesses, you cannot grow your business with your own funds. Sometimes you need other people, what they call other people money to grow your business. But you must
Okay. All right.
My money, some of these projects or some of these businesses can generate the money to pay off the debt.
Interesting. That's how wealthy men think. Excuse me, please. That's how Let me come to you now, Mr. Fatunke. There's a saying that he that goes are borrowing, goes are sorrowing.
At one point in time, not necessarily in modern finance management.
That doesn't hold water anymore.
In line with what Mukhtar has put in there, he says there is no good debt, there is no bad debt. Yes, in a manner of speaking, also a platitude like what you have said. But there are good debts. Okay? He also said that when these debts are indexed to development, properly accounted for, you know when you are going to feast, you know when you are going to go on fasts, and at the end of the day, you do your planning and estimation. You could go into debts and yet still be industrialized. US still remains the highest debtor nation, China. But when you don't bring in efficiency into the debt, and you bring corruption, he also mentioned corruption. Kaduna State, as we were speaking, allegedly, again, my carefulness tells me, allegedly, until I hear. Gombe State is one of the poorest states in Nigeria as we speak. Gombe State allegedly is planning to construct 15 billion state house, befitting state house for the government. And this money is from where? Borrowed. And you now then come back and say you cannot pay salaries. Mukhtar is introducing something.
The guest.
Yes, our guest.
Okay.
Yes, is introducing something that I honestly must say that as an economist, I'm so equally surprised. And that is the reason why I said window dressing. Today is the tomorrow we were thinking about yesterday. Now you are no more there. Transparency audit now begins to come up and then show you the reality. And I am not going to take it away from the fact that we now have a new sheriff in town, in CBN. Prognosing, looking at, torchlighting. What has the bank done? The PPP thing. Everybody seems to be running helter-skelter. So, those things that might have been hidden are now then coming to fore, and everybody is now carrying his own monkey. El-Rufai, that I think I know, and like he also said, that the Bureau of privatization, I know he has his onions well cut out. And one of the things that I will be surprised, I'm still surprised, I'll be surprised that is really, is this true? Can it really be true? But it will be true if we now have a new governor who pledged his life and pledged his reputation that those loans should be taken. When he was pledging his life and reputation, did he ask the right questions? At the National Assembly, Mr. President will still say he's going to take additional loans. Are we looking at them very critically? Are we indexing them? Remember the Abacha loot. Abacha loot came and the promise was that when it comes, it's going to be indexed. Maybe, maybe not. We need to be able to now see some of these things transparently. I think El-Rufai's reputation is on the line. I foresee a situation where El-Rufai will naturally want to come by way of defense. Is there a communication gap somewhere? Or like David, and I tried to shut him, and I'm sorry, David, I tried to shut him earlier. Or is there a demon that has suddenly appeared? The usual one between the incumbent and the predecessor and all that, because when it comes to issue of money, then things fall apart. My prayer, like Serap is saying, 7 days is, in my mind, 7 days is too long.
No, too long.
Within 2 days, by the press of a button, these are the agreements we took. This, like Mukhtar is saying, are some things we could see. You remember uncommon transformation? Okay? Now the president of the National Assembly, at his time, we saw uncommon transformation. There was absolutely no doubt about that. The cargo plane and all that. But human capacity development was just not on.
Okay.
And then we had what we call health institutions that were created. And then suddenly he had an accident, he had to be flown abroad. So are we doing fit for purpose, fit for money? Are we actually running a federation? This is not how we run a federation. This is not how this is. It's not a this is a state.
We'll talk about that one when we get to the second
Second
topic.
topic.
How a federation should be run.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm going to come to you, Mr. Mukhtar, while we wrap up this conversation. And of course, we'll possibly be expecting you to stay with us. But in 1 minute, is there the possibility that all of this revelation, according to the present governor, is leading to us seeing a government that might not work after 4 years? Is there the possibility of that? That's one. Secondly, is there also any kind of rift that is presently ongoing that everybody's not seeing, but that is between these two actors? I'm talking about the predecessor and the present governor. In 1 or 2 sentences, do Kaduna citizens or residents have any cause to worry after that?
Well, fortunately for Kaduna residents, I think Obasani seems to be earning their support. I mean, it seems to have started governance in a good way. I mean, taking off from where El-Rufai stopped. That's why it's shocking when we start hearing this news. Some of the projects that El-Rufai embarked upon, Obasani is completing some of those projects. So we're surprised about what he's just said, and even doing new projects. So I think there is a rift somewhere between the son of the governor and the governor. When it comes to politics, you never can say. But you know that El-Rufai worked tirelessly for Obasani to become the governor of Kaduna State. You remember he even lost the 3 senatorial seats to PDP. He lost the State House of Assemblies to PDP. But one area that he worked tirelessly for him to win the election was the governorship election. And not to forget that Obasani himself was former chief of staff to Nasir Rufai. So in the coming days, we will know what is happening. But for development in Kaduna State, I think Obasani is doing very well. What I've seen, what I've heard, like I said, I have people there, so I communicate with them daily. He's doing very well. He has a little bit challenge that has to do with insecurity. Those have been ongoing and they have been there since. And so I don't think these two elephants fighting is affecting the state development. But
What are the
maybe
elephants
Bashir
really
El
fighting?
you should know him.
Is
Like
it the
being in
elephants
the
that are
news,
fighting?
either for the wrong or the right reason.
All
It's
right,
time
then.
for
Thank
him
you
to
very
be
much,
in the news.
Mukhtar Mohammed. Now, quickly, Mr.
Okay.
Fatunke, is it the elephants fighting really, or some of the individuals are fighting on behalf of an elephant, and because what we see here now is we're seeing a situation whereby relatives of government officials are beginning to get involved. It's not just El Rufai now. We have that across where relatives will tell Nigerians, okay, calm down, things will be fine. We don't need to hear from them because they are not elected officers. But here we are. Bashir El Rufai, the son to former governor El Rufai, is saying, look, put your house in order. Don't complain. You're spending too much time in Abuja. Stay in your state and fix it. Now, we also have a situation whereby Hajia Mariam Sulaiman, who is the APC woman leader, Kaduna North, also, spoke against the governor for reading out those debts, and she has been suspended. What do you perceive here? Silencing or witch hunting?
Not two elephants. I like to say two ants fighting.
Can we have that in about a minute or less?
I do not
we
see
can move to
elephants. I slightly and responsibly disagree with Mukhtar that it's not a cause for concern. I think it's very grave cause for concern unless proven otherwise.
Okay.
Now we have somebody at the cockpit and he is saying that he cannot pay salaries. Now, is this still playing to the gallery? 287 were kidnapped, 137. Is he all together, all captured in what needs, or is it crying foul? And don't forget, when communication gets into this, either right or wrong, you are driving away investment, you are driving away confidence. And to that extent, I dare say, Kaduna State as a metaphor for the rest of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, things are not sitting well.
Okay.
Things are not sitting well.
All right.
Don't forget, I made a statement. We have a new sheriff in town. A new headmaster came to town and ready to try and clean and unclean. So what do happen? When they say when they say when the demise away, the mouse is at play.
Yeah.
Somebody had just come in now. So everybody now would now know how to find a way to adjust. I'll be looking for excuse. I'm not happy.
All right.
It should not be turned into a family thing.
It
shouldn't be turned. And
I'm not getting my emotions up there. Well, let's thank you very much, Mukhtar Mohammed and Mr. Akin Fatunke. We'll take a break now. Fina?
And when we come back, we'll be looking at the African Development Bank Group, AFDB Board's addition of proposes United States of Nigeria to be the way forward for Nigerians. Details and more after this break.